there, I never, like, I didn't see another machine in that subdivision that, was being hauled in and then hauled out
Yeah.
on a daily basis, or even at all really that week that I was there. There was a neighbor down the road from that woman that had a skid steer,
Yeah.
and he was doing what he could, for his neighbor, for
Mm-hmm.
some of the neighbors on that street. But I never saw any other people coming in with equipment, and I only saw one other skid steer in that town the entire week I was there. So it was definitely a very underserved community
Yeah.
they got hammered, they got rocked by that storm.
Yeah.
And so, obviously it was exactly where I was supposed to be. I was never meant to. I mean, I could have gone to the next county over, and there would have been plenty of work to do there. But this was obviously exactly where I was supposed to be. And so, and then again, the connections with those neighbors. I mean, I just went from one neighbor to another.
Mm-hmm.
I finished with her, went across the street, helped that couple. They fed me lunch one day. They said they baked. I mean, the wife baked, like all kinds of food, pecan bread, muffins, like homemade, all this
Yeah.
homemade
That's the
food
thing. You talk about like how grateful you are for how grateful they are for you, and now here you are talking about how grateful you are for
for
them.
them.
It's just this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they would come over and they were like, we want to give somebody would say, well, we want to give you money for what you're doing, and I was like, well, I really don't want the money because I want to do this
Yeah.
as a blessing to y'all and as a gift. And so, sometimes I'll take it, but sometimes it's just like if you're going into town today or tomorrow or the next day or two and would like to get a gift card from Ace, or where I can buy consumables for which are fuel and bar oil and chains,
Mm-hmm.
bars for the chainsaws,
Mm-hmm.
filters, things like that, that are obviously needed to keep
Yeah.
that equipment going. Then you could go get a gift card.
Yeah.
And then so they would when
Yeah.
they would the next time they would go into town, they would go get gift cards, whether for fuel or for groceries or for consumables for the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Bring it back to me. So I mean, so some of them were baking food, some of them were going and getting food from town. The nonprofit local that I was collaborating with, they
Yeah.
would bring out sandwiches for lunch
Yeah.
and drinks and Gatorade, and and just, I mean, it was just, again, just there was so much that I was receiving at the same time I was giving.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful, special thing to experience. And so anyways, so just, yeah, I mean, I would just go from one neighbor to the next as soon as we finished, or if it was just me. Some days it was just me and the skid steer and the chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
And so until the end of the week, and I knew at that point I had to go back to Wimberley.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I did as many as I could in that subdivision. I don't remember how many properties I got to work on, but it was quite a few. But the connections with the people were amazing too. Just getting to know the people as well and hear their stories. One couple, I mean, it's a very sad story, but an incredible story of just of faith. There, that was actually the last day that my friends had come, that were there, that had come with their machine.
Yeah.
It was their last day there, the second day, and we were finishing up. I think it was the last property we were working on that day, and this couple was out on their back deck, and they were just watching us do the work. And so I went up onto the deck and just started talking with them while the guys were finishing up the work. And of course, being that my aunt and uncle live in that community, that's where my mom grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these, I had an opportunity to ask a lot of those people in that subdivision if they knew some of my family members. And so, which just, it just led to a lot of pretty cool connections and stories. Well, this one couple, I told them what, the family that I'm a part of, and they said, oh yeah, we know them, and kind of shared some stories. But they began to tell me, it was, I think, about a year ago to the date of when I was there, that day that I was there on the deck with them, that they have I don't think they're twin daughters, but they have daughters that are like a year apart, and they're very close. The daughters are very close, as well as the parents to the daughters. And one of the daughters is married. That, if I remember the story correctly, is married, was married at the time. Two young kids, and she commuted from that town, Wharton, to another town closer to the coast called Bay City. I think she was a nurse, and anyways, and the mother, the woman that's on the deck there, where I am, she and her daughter, this particular daughter, talked on the phone every day while the daughter was commuting to work on Bluetooth, hands free. And so that particular day, it was a rainy day, but they were talking as they always do as she was driving to work, and they were telling me this. So they're telling me this story, and the mom is actually telling me the story. And she said, I was talking to her like I always do. And all of a sudden, I heard her say, whoa, whoa, whoa. And that was it. Silence after that. And so she figured obviously something had happened. So she called her son-in-law, her daughter's husband, and just said, I think something has happened. And so he, quickly got in his vehicle and headed down the highway to see if he could see what was going on, or if something had happened. Sure enough, she had been in an accident. I think, if I remember correctly, it was either, I think her vehicle hydroplaned. And went over and went head on with the oncoming truck. And so they made impact. Her car flipped over into the ditch and caught on fire and burned up. She was still in it. So so they're telling me this. I'm just like, no, please, this cannot be, And they said, and so she finishes the story, and she says, Tim, a lot of people that know us, and especially in this community that know us, they said, well, aren't you mad at God? And they said, no, we're not, because he didn't cause that accident to happen. And I think the daughter was somewhere around 41 years of age when it happened. And they said, and he gave us 41 wonderful years with her. Are our hearts broken? Are we grieving? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we're not mad at God. I was just like, wow. And so you never know what people are going through. Obviously they just experienced this hurricane and needed help, and we were able to help them in that way, but then unknowingly to me, they've just experienced this loss, just a year ago, and so
it gives you that much more fuel to be in your service that you're doing, because it's not just the immediate thing,
right?
Like you never
don't.
Like you said, you don't know what other layers that people are going through, and you want to help alleviate that in any way possible.
Yeah.
If you have the gifts to be able to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that I would say God has shown me over the years of my life and helped me to really understand and kind of become okay with, because I used to be like, I don't have time to talk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to run equipment and get work done.
Yeah.
But over the years, he's shown me that there's a lot more to it, son, than just doing the work, that kind of work, the physical work.
Yeah.
It was because there's emotional stuff going on, there's spiritual stuff going on, and there's physical stuff going on. And because of the things that I've experienced in my life, and it's especially with him involved, like helping me through, emotionally tough times and physical, tough times and spiritual, that it's, really what the way I see it is he's actually been giving me more tools in my toolbox, so to speak, instead of just having equipment.
Yeah.
That there's these other gifts that he's been developing in me over the years.
Yeah.
And so to be able to use all of that is just incredibly special, and to receive. While I'm giving, I'm receiving from them. To hear a mother say, "No, we're not mad at God. He gave us 41 wonderful years with our daughter. He didn't cause that accident to happen. And we know exactly where she is, And so, even though we're heartbroken. And so
I think that's an important part. I just want to mention this really quick. I think that's an important part to mention is that, anybody who's watching, like, everybody has their different, viewpoints, when it comes to spirituality or as it relates to God, or if people are of the opinion that's not a thing.
Yeah.
What I feel like it's really, really important to mention is that is a huge driving factor for you, and what gives you fuel for your service is you do come from a very, very Christian lens, and it affords you a power that I haven't seen many people tap into, because you're working for a much, much greater purpose.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yeah, and which leads me to, it doesn't have to, obviously, as you know, like, it doesn't even have to come from that place of faith.
Yeah.
There's good in every human. That's just kind of the thing to do. If somebody's in need, and that's what we're seeing out here right now.
I heard somebody say once, oh wait, it was a quote. I won't get into, but it was, there was a character. It was in The Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel and Richard Harris, and Jim Caviezel's character in there, Montantes, said, I don't believe in God, and Richard Harris's character just said, it doesn't matter, he believes in you. So people can have whatever beliefs they want, at least from my lens and from your lens, it's like, that's okay. It doesn't really matter. So, because God sees your heart,
right,
and we'll always know if you're coming out of service from, if you're coming from a place of service to God, even if you don't know that's what you're doing,
right,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. It takes all of us to do these types of recovery efforts. And it takes all types. It's kind of the natural thing to do. For those that, even those that have been impacted, you'll see them going out and helping others. Because they may say, well, I'm not as bad off as they are.
Exactly.
So I'll come back to mine when I have time. But they're in a worse situation than I am. Or
that is
or
something
just,
that I've seen with this storm and with everything that had taken place here.
Yes.
With Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
It's like I was afforded the opportunity to see human beings at their absolute best.
Yeah.
Yes, are there isolated pockets of people not showing up the best?
Sure.
Of course, it happens, but
the
vast majority of my experience here was people coming together, not needing not needing outside help, not waiting for government help or anything like that, but buckling down and helping themselves, helping their neighbors, helping their community. It's incredible.
Yeah. It is. So whether it's
tough people out here.
Yes, yeah. And so whether it's coming from a place of faith or just a place of this is like a goodness of your heart. This is just what we do as humans. There's somebody in desperate need. we're going to go give them aid. We're going to go help, you know.
Yeah.
And so, so yes, I appreciate bringing that point up.
Yeah.
That for me, it does come from a place of faith, of just deep faith, I would say, in Jesus, and just experiencing Him, and there's so much to that part of my life. But so just to kind of get back to where we are now.
Yeah.
So experiencing that, that part of Him saying, if you just show up, I can do so much more. You know, I will provide everything you need and more, you know, basically. And so then that's what happened, you know, with Hurricane Beryl, and as well as other, you know, disasters that I've been a part of, but I'm just using that one as an example because it was this year. So once I got back to Wimberley, that's when I was just like, okay, I'm in a position to go to the next level with disaster relief. And I'm willing to give you everything now, not just the truck, like, and not just what cash I have, but my credit, it's really yours, you know, but everything, time, everything. So, so I went out and financed those 2 machines, going back to that part of the story. So I got approved for those first 2 machines. And I thought that was it. I thought that's where I would stop, is with those 2 machines, the trailer, haul trailer, maybe the water trailer. At that point, it was still on order. And I thought that would be it, because that was already, I couldn't afford the first asset that I financed, much less a 4th or 5th one. And so Hurricane Helene makes landfall. I would say approximately a week after it made landfall, I was in a position where I could actually deploy the first machine, and that was an excavator. And so I loaded, prepared, and departed early one morning. And on my way through Houston, the boom of the excavator hit the underside of the lowest overpass in downtown Houston going over Interstate 10. Miraculously, nobody was injured nor killed in the incident, because the boom, it broke the safety chain, securing the boom and bucket to the trailer, broke that chain, and it forced the boom and the cab of the machine around to the side, the right side of the trailer, which I was in the center lane of Interstate 10, and it's 4 to 5 lanes at that point, or at that place. There was a 18-wheeler in that lane beside me, in the right lane beside me, at the rear of my trailer, when the boom made impact. The driver did a great job of, you know, just being aware of the situation, getting that rig locked up and stopped immediately. I got out and assessed the tractor of the 18-wheeler. Couldn't see that they had made contact at all. Didn't look like it. And so it was just obviously a scary situation, and a lot of damage, but it could have been a lot worse. So that puts equipment, trailer, truck, all, and some of them are in the wrecking, you know, are hauled to the wrecking yard. So I was able to drive the truck back home, but it was damaged, and so put all of that stuff under repair. Insurance claims filed, all, you know. So I went back home and spent the next couple of weeks just kind of regrouping, working on insurance claims, getting some of that stuff out of the wrecking yard in Houston to shops, or getting like the trailer repaired, which the trailer again was borrowed. I had not gotten mine yet. My trailer was still being built, the haul trailer. And so I borrowed, again, the same friend that let me borrow the trailer for Hurricane Beryl let me borrow this trailer again. Again, brand new trailer, very expensive. And I thought it was totaled. And so, but I didn't know So, anyways, um, so while I'm working on all of that, the insurance claims and regrouping, I just, one morning I was praying, talking with Jesus, and I just heard God say, not in an audible voice, but just in the spirit, like, you still have credit left, don't you? He said, you know, they haven't denied your credit yet, have they? And I was like, no, they haven't. I was like, you want me to get more equipment? And I just sensed that he was saying yes. So I was like, okay, I can't afford the first one, so what's 12?
Yeah.
If I can't afford one, and this is only going to work if you're involved in this, because this is impossible for me. And so, so I called my sales rep up, who he and I have a very close relationship with, and he knows me very well. He has supplied me with the equipment. Yeah, for, you know, since I've been in the equipment rental business, he has been supplying me with equipment along with other, you know, sales reps for other manufacturers. But for this particular manufacturer, he's my guy, you know. And so he knew that I obviously closed down the rental business last year. He knows he knew what I was doing this year work-wise. He knew about how much money I'm making, that I make less than $20 an hour working part-time. And that's my sole source of income. Yeah. And so, you know, when I got to that point of ordering that third machine, you know, he knew that all of this was in faith. I'd already told him, man, I was like, I'm doing this in faith. Yeah. And if God is involved with it, then it'll work out. But if he's not, it's not going to work out, obviously, because it's impossible for me. And so, and you know, and again, they don't do in-house financing. This manufacturer doesn't do in-house financing, so he doesn't have any say-so in whether these loan applications get approved or not. Yeah. And so they're looking at the same information on all of these loan applications: my income level, etc., credit, and the things they've already been approved. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're probably $400,000 or $500,000 at that point. You know, and so, anyways, he sends it off. He lets me know. He calls me back. Says that you got approved for a second skid steer. I said, great. So he says, I'm gonna have to bring it in from. We don't have one on our lot. I'm gonna have to bring it in from another dealer. So it's gonna be a day or two. And I said, no problem. Yeah. And so it comes in. He brings it out to me, drops it off at the ranch, and while we're unloading it, I say, I'm ready for the second excavator. He says, okay, I'll send it in. I'll send in the application, the request. So he does. The next day, calls me back. You got approved. That machine, we don't have one of those machines on the lot right now, but there's one in San Antonio. I said, great. When it's ready for pickup, I'll go down there and pick it up. So a few days go by and it's ready for pickup, and so I go down to pick it up, and he meets me down there at that dealership to do the paperwork and help me load the machine. And while we're loading the machine, I said, I'm ready for the third skid steer, because they haven't turned me down yet on my credit. So he sends in their request for the third skid steer. Later on, calls me, you got approved. Yeah. I said, awesome. Okay. So he said, again, that one's going to have to come from, I think that one came from Abilene. Yeah. He said, it's going to take a couple of days to get here. Yeah. We'll get it ready. I'll bring it to you. Mm-hmm. So he does. It comes in. He lets me know that it's in. They're getting it ready. And I said, I'm ready. I'm ready for the third excavator. Yeah. And so he sends that one in. And the next day he brings the skid steer, delivers it to me. And he gets there, gets out of his truck, and he's just shaking his head. He says, I got to show you this text message. It's from the finance manager of their corporate location in Fort Worth. Yeah. And basically it said something like, I don't know how this is happening. Bobcat, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, wasn't it Bobcat?
Yeah.
Jeez,
so,
man.
He says there was a lender that approved it.
Yeah.
And so there was some terms with it, but I was like, okay, well, I'll accept the terms and take it.
Yeah.
So there was not another excavator that he had access to in the state of Texas. And so he had to reach out to corporate headquarters. And the guy that he was talking to on the phone was on speakerphone. He had my sales rep on speakerphone. The CEO of Bobcat happened to be with him at the time of the phone call, so he could hear the conversation, obviously. So my sales rep is talking to whoever this guy is in corporate about locating this excavator. And so the CEO chimes in and says, "Hey, Eric, who's this machine for?" Because it's very rare for that to happen, for Eric to have to go that far out to pull a machine in, or that the CEO would even ask him, about a machine or a customer, really. And so Eric tells him, he says, for Tim Brown. And so, and a lot of people in corporate had already heard about this story. Actually, they had a grand opening for a store just south of Austin, which is actually closer to where I live than their main store in Round Rock. And the day that I went and picked up the excavator that was involved in the incident in Houston, that was in the wrecking yard, and brought it back to the dealership to have their shop do the inspection on it to determine if it was totaled or repairable, so that they could send that information off to the insurance company. That exact day, and it was unplanned, it just happened to be the day that I was able to go get the machine out of Houston. It was the day that store was having their grand opening celebration. And so there was a lot of corporate people there, as well as people from other nearby dealerships. And so I got to meet a lot of those people, and they got to hear the story. And Eric had already been sharing the story with them, but and so there were a lot that knew about the story. And so he says, so he knew when he said Tim Brown, the CEO was like, Eric, that's impossible. Like, there's no way he can be getting approved for this equipment. And he said, even our largest equipment purchasers, like United Rental and Sunbelt, the big rental companies, and they said even if they were trying to do what he's doing with their credit, which they don't normally use their credit, but if they did, they wouldn't even be able to. And so Eric was like, I hear what you're saying, and yes, you're right. It is impossible for this to happen, but it's not impossible if God is involved in this situation. And so it's a huge risk, and it's not that we're putting God out there to be tested, or for Him to prove something. It's more of just, I just sense that that's what He was leading me. This is what He's leading me to do.
To step into greater levels of faith and surrender.
And it's like, I'm giving you everything I've got. I was reminded that morning that I had that first conversation with Him about just giving everything to Him, laying it at His feet and saying, it's all yours anyways. You're the great provider. This is all about you anyways. This world is about you. You're about your kingdom, and you're about it, being here on earth. And it's a spiritual kingdom. But you're about it being here on earth, and I'm one of your kids. And so I want to stop really living more for myself. And really giving you everything I've got. Because first of all, He's worthy of it, and then He's good, He's love, He's all of these things, that it's like, there's so many reasons that I should be doing this. You should have access to everything that I have, should be for you and your kingdom here on earth. And
that's, I just want to say too, because I I think we're coming up on time right now, but I just want to kind of chime in on that and just say, like, the level of service that you're displaying makes it really, really easy for somebody like me to want to do my part as well. That's the reason why I wanted to sit down with you today and just be like, all right, I can't do a lot, but I can do something.
Right.
And like, this guy is giving so much of himself to everybody that he's encountering, so much of himself, just consistently, year after year after year. I want to do what I can to be able to get this guy the support that he needs, and this is something that I think is really, really powerful about like the ability to just sit down with somebody and talk with them and record it and put it out there into the world. It's like, either everything's with God or nothing's with God. And I choose to believe, I feel pretty confident in the fact that everything's with God. And I mean, the internet can be a really, really beautiful tool if we just actually have faith and surrender to how Spirit can work through it.
Right.
And it's a really, I in putting this out here, like, maybe it's not even my interview of you that reaches that person, that next person. Maybe somebody else hears that story and they want to talk with you more. Right. And then maybe it's through that and that and that, and the next, that's how these things work. You can't track it. Right. You can't say that, you can't be attached to any outcome of like, this is how I want it to work. This is how I want it to be. I'm gonna do this thing, and then it's gonna go in this. It's like, no. Yeah. Like, this is an act of surrender as well. Yes. Of just putting this out there, trusting that these words are gonna reach the right ears. Yeah. And that you're gonna continue to get the support that you need, because I really, really feel that you want to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a great point, Ethan. I mean, because some people say, well, I'm not physically able to do something, or I can't do what you're doing, and it's like, it's like like you just said, he's given us all abilities and gifts, and so, some of them may be physical, some of them may be emotional, some of them may be spiritual or mental, or financial. I mean, it's just there's so many different ways to give of ourselves to people in need, or to support people that are helping people in need, and so it's so true what you just said, and so I just encourage people that whatever it is, if it's preparing food, or if it's washing clothes, or if I can put clothes in a washer and a dryer, I could show up and be a part of a mobile washateria unit, or make lunches, or meals, and then that's it. That's what I do. I don't have to be doing a lot of strenuous
of those things. People we're doing down here in Barnesville, or right now we're in Barnesville, North Carolina. Yes, is where we're at, and literally 3 miles down the road was one of the hubs for Hurricane Helene, and it was, no job was too big or too small.
Everyone is needed. Yeah. If you can show up, or if you can provide something, it's needed. Yeah. And it makes such a big difference. And so that's how I ended up with these assets right now. I did attempt to start a nonprofit. I never really felt at peace about doing the nonprofit. I got probably 90% of the way through it, and ended up closing it down. That process down. Decided I didn't want to do it or have it. So I don't have a nonprofit. Just again, like you said at the beginning of this interview, working off of what income or monies I've had, or people have given to me, to make these payments, the insurance payments or the note payments, I got that insurance check for the excavator. It was a $35,000 repair. Yeah. Well, I got that $35,000 check. Well, the excavator, they're still working on it because it's brand new. They're having to actually build the parts from the factory, so it's taking a while. Yeah. So it's not even ready. Well, I needed that money to pay my friend for a brand new trailer because I destroyed his, and my insurance company wouldn't cover the trailer, and so that's a whole nother story. But so I was out. Then that it was $16,000 for the new trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't have $16,000. And then one morning I was like, well, do you have it in your possession today? I'd just gotten the insurance check. I was like, well, I have 16,000. Yes, I have it in my possession today, but it's for the excavator repair. If I use it, how am I going to pay for the excavator? Another thing is I just maxed out my credit card. Getting the trailer out of the wrecking yard in Houston, I had to pay the wrecking fee and the storage fee was in there over a month because the front axle was snapped in half.
Yeah.
So I had to buy a new axle, have it installed, wrecking fee, storage fee. I mean, it was over $6,000 just to get the trailer repaired and out of the wrecking yard. And so, I mean, there was just so I maxed out my credit card.
Yeah.
He was like, do you have it in your possession today? I was like, yes, I do. But if I use it, I won't have it to pay for the excavator. He says, well, are you going to trust me for the excavator when it comes time to pay for the excavator? And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to. You know, so I called my friend, told him I had a check with his name on it for $16,000. Came and picked it up, paid off that trailer, and just ordered a new one. So, you know, that was good. I felt good about getting that taken care of. And then I paid down the credit card because I needed to come back out here to continue work out here and buy fuel for the equipment and travel expenses and things like that. And so I was like, I've got to have some form of, you know, ability to pay for things, you know. And so it's just, you know, been things like that and even in that, it's been, I don't know how much more time we have.
Go ahead. I'd say probably about like another 5 minutes.
Okay, it's been one of the most stress-free times in my life because everything that I'm involved in right now, I know I cannot make happen on my own.
Yeah.
I don't have a job that pays, you know, that where I make that kind of money. My job pays what I believe it's worth.
Yeah.
The position I have, I'm totally content with that pay because I believe that's what that position is worth. But so I don't have the income level to handle these expenses, and so it's impossible for me, and so it's just taking the burden and the stress off of trying to make it happen because I know I can't. No matter what I do, I can't make it happen other than believe that he's like, remember going back to Hurricane Bro, I just need you to show up. I just need you to take a step and trust me with what I've entrusted you with. Now you're entrusting it back to me to do incredible and amazing things for my kingdom on earth, for people that I connect you with or people that are in need, to inspire people, whatever it is that he's doing through this, like that's why, you know. And so another thing that happened is I connected with this lady that has 2 kids. We have a mutual friend in Wimberley, and she is friends with John and Christica here.
Yeah.
And she wanted to come out and help.
Yeah.
Specifically them, but she was open to going anywhere and helping. And she had never done it before, to my knowledge, she had never done it before. And so, you know, she wanted to team up with somebody that was either going or that was already on the ground. So she could just, you know, fall in with them and have a place to land and serve with a team. Yeah. Well, this mutual friend of ours connected us. They know her and really well. They know me really well, but I don't know her. She doesn't know me. And so they said, hey, you need to talk to Tim Brown. Yeah. He's organizing resources right now and a team to deploy. And so they gave her my phone number. She calls me, tells me who she is, and says, you know, I'd like to go if you feel comfortable with me going. We ended up meeting up, having a meet and greet a day or two after that phone call, just to get to know each other. And then that's when she told me about her friends here, John and Christica, who I had no idea who they were, but that's how I connected to them. And I said, yeah, if you're if you're on board,
Yeah.
love to have you travel and be a part of it. And so that's how I ended up out here. That's when she told me, I have these friends of mine that their bridge got washed out. They have limited access in and out of their property.
The whole lower portion
The
of the
lower
property,
portion of the property got flooded.
Cabins,
cabins. Part of the earth is gone now.
Yeah, it's a what 300 or 400 yards downstream, just completely
crushed
in pieces.
Structures flooded that are still here on the property. That so it's just So I was like, yes. She's like, do you think we could help him? I was like, yes, let's go. Let's head that way. And if for some reason that, the door gets closed, we'll go in a different direction, but let's go that way. And so that's how I got here. And there's a lot to that story, but that's how I ended up here. And they told us even before we got here, they would host us. They would provide lodging for us. They would provide meals for us.
Yeah.
And so as we're serving them, they're serving us.
I would like to, we didn't plan for this. It was supposed to be about, This is supposed to be like maybe a 30 or 45 minute conversation. I think it's been like an hour and a half.
This is how our trip
just
to the
goes, man.
airport go.
I want to, we didn't plan on sitting down and scheduling another conversation.
Yeah.
But I'd like to,
Sure.
I'd like to actually pick up right there with like, to backtrack just a little bit to what got you started there with John and Christica and some of the work that you've been doing out here too.
Yeah.
Because it's, but it's important to get all that backstory because it's important to know that Tim's not just serving here right now at this time. This has been his life for the last several years.
Yeah.
So, this is a man I want to help.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love you, Tim.
Love you too, brother.
Seriously. Yeah. Thank you so much for sitting down here with me today.
You're welcome. Yes. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Really, really appreciate it.
Truly my pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you all for tuning in, and well, as you just heard us say, we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, Ethan.
Awesome.